What's up again, everybody? I am back to talk more about my oh so interesting life. So, here we go. So, where I left off in my other video, I think, was about, February of 2018. I kind of had this breakdown of like all these doubts had piled up and I didn't know what to think anymore. And then by May, I was feeling like I at least wanted to take a break from church. Which worked out great because my son was being born, so it was a perfect opportunity to not go to church for a little while anyway. So, during that time was so difficult. And this is something I feel like a lot of members who are in the church who have never been outside of the church, never had an issue with anything, really lack an understanding and compassion in, because again, difference between church doctrine and church culture, but there's kind of this cultural idea within the congregation that people who leave the church are just like lazy, or they just wanted to sin, or they just got too caught up in church history and just didn't focus on the positive things about the church. They're in their mind, it's like if you believe you're a part of the one true church, everything else just doesn't really make sense. Like, why would someone leave the one true church? Like, this is where the truth is. So why would someone, it just doesn't make sense to them. So a lot of times you're kind of stigmatized for being led by Satan or tricked by the devil or things like that. And it's very frustrating for those of us who are questioning, doubting, or leaving the church, because we are very much looked down on, and it's hurtful. It feels like, and not all Mormons are like that, but I'm not going to say it's a majority, but it's a lot. So, February through May, I'm kind of struggling with this whole, I don't know what I believe, but I want to believe the church is true. I want to believe this church that I grew up in is true because it makes me feel safe. It makes me feel good. It makes me feel like I have answers to questions that are very, very important. But as I started to feel like there were certain things that weren't true, then it's like in my mind, well, what? Then I have to try to figure out, wait, if that's not true in my mind, then what else might not be true? And it was just a very scary road to go down in my mind. And it was just so difficult. And again, I don't think that's something that members understand, because I think they often will trivialize the struggle of someone who leaves or goes inactive or whatever, who leaves the church because they just think it's for trivial reasons. And I'm realizing that that's not the case, and especially not for me. I wanted the church to be true. I still want it to be true sometimes. I wanted the church to be true, and I tried to work through my doubts and everything to try to come back with a better understanding and more compassion, and ready to, be kind of renewed in my faith, and it just wasn't taking that direction. And I think the most interesting thing about all of this is I never went looking for this stuff, I was always reading my scriptures. I was always going to church. I was always doing the things I was supposed to be doing. It kind of felt like life directed me to this point. And it, in a weird way, like, I feel like for those who are Mormon watching this, they're not going to understand. But I felt like God directed me on this path for a reason. And that doesn't make sense to an LDS member, because the church is for everyone. The church is perfect. in the sense of its doctrine. So it should work for everyone. It should be great for everyone. And there's no one that it shouldn't work for. So yeah, just dealing with the kind of pain of, I don't know what to believe, and I'm feeling very hurt and confused, was difficult because it's only magnified by the fact that all of your friends and family who are in the church think you're a little bit crazy or going off the edge or something. And my family is so awesome. It's so much better than a lot of LDS families out there. Much more compassionate and understanding than what generally kind of happens from member, like when a family member leaves the church, and how they're treated. And so my family was pretty understanding, but it was also difficult because I was feeling like I was emotionally struggling so much, feeling so confused and lost and hurt, and yet I can't really vocalize it to them because I can't say, well, I'm hurt because Joseph Smith did this thing and I never knew about that, or I'm hurt because I don't think God thinks this way, and I don't know how to go to church and not be bothered by the fact that I don't think God is mad at that kind of thing or whatever. And yet in their mind, I feel like from their perspective, they're just thinking like, well, just don't think that way. And I'm thinking like, I wish I could not think that way. I wish I could go back and just not have thought about all these things and just be a happy little Mormon girl and not feel like I'm trying to fake it. Because it was painful to go to church, because I felt like I couldn't sit through a lesson and not disagree with something. And then just, it's like I sit there and they'll talk about like the importance of tithing. And I'm like, in my mind, I don't know how much to get into. In my mind, I have issues with tithing for different reasons, but it's like I can't like voice that to this congregation of people who think that tithing is so important and that God wants you to do that. And so it's like, what do I do? It's like I didn't want to abandon that community that's always been home to me, but I also felt like I had to be honest with myself and what I was thinking and feeling and believing. And, it's a tricky thing because you can't choose what you believe. Like, you can try to change what you believe. What you believe is impacted by so many things. I mean, by your upbringing, by the influencers in your life, by your experiences, by where you live. I mean, there's so many factors. But it's not something that you can just think like, I want to think this way and just make it happen in the snap of a finger. So I was really struggling, feeling like I'm missing being a part of this community, but being there makes me feel very sick and conflicted because I have to try to determine what I think is true and what I think is not true. I feel compelled to do that. Not that I want to. I'd like to just sit and enjoy like a talk or whatever, but I'm feeling like I disagree, and then that stresses me out, and it's just a mess. So it was just a mess. It's pretty much been a mess since then. I've just been a collective mess. So now we're on January. This is January of 2019. I just want to kind of bring you from May to where I am now. I have just spent a lot of time reading and praying and thinking and trying to figure out what the heck is going on in my mind. And I pretty much have gone through these stages of feeling like the church is not exactly in my mind. I don't view it the same way as I did growing up. Now, I do not view it as an entirely negative entity or anything like that. There's a lot of people that go ex-Mormon, that they go super ex-Mormon, and I honestly don't understand it because the Mormon church is a community of people who are very kind, loving, who are trying to be good people, and they're trying to do it in the way that they were raised to do it. So I don't get hating on that because they really are very good people. Um, I guess my perspective of it now is it's in my mind, it's kind of like it's another religion. It's it doesn't stand out to me the same way that it used to because I used to view it as the one true church, the only true church, and every other church is wrong or whatever. Although I never really agreed with that teaching. Growing up, I had a lot of friends in St. Louis. It was very diverse. I was very close friends with a Catholic and Protestant religions. I had great Christian friends, and I loved them. And I loved that we were all on the same team because we were all on Team Jesus. So what else mattered? And I still love that idea. Anyway, so my current perspective is it's another religion. And I think it's a good one. I think it's a lot better than a lot of religions out there. But I don't think it's perfect. And I don't think it's without flaws, obviously. Don't think it's perfect. And I think that there are a lot of things that I would do differently if I were to raise my kids in the religion. Again, trying to get you from May to now has just been a lot of back and forth, feeling confused, feeling very uncertain, and also just being afraid of what I don't know. Because growing up, I believed, I would die at some point in my life and that I would be with my family. And that I would be with my family and we would be happy in heaven and it would be great. and Mormons also kind of had the belief that, you're going to progress even further from that and become your own god of your own planet. And I think that's a really cool thing. And I feel like it makes sense for some weird reason. And I don't know. I feel like the thought of progressing further as a spiritual being sounds great. I still go to church sometimes, and I really like my ward. I have awesome people in my ward, and they're great. And so I like going to our church activities and stuff. We just went to our little ward Christmas party the other day, and it was awesome. My son got to see Santa and everything. So, I'm feeling at a crossroads because I don't want to let go of this community that I grew up in because these are my people. Like, these are my people. I love them. I feel like I belong with them in some respect. But then at the same time, I feel like I am not going to be accepted by them if they are to find out what I really think and what I really feel. And so it's hard because I don't want to be constrained by having to be fake, pretend that I believe or pretend that I agree with the rules when I don't. But I also feel like I don't want to abandon it altogether. But I also feel like I do. It's kind of a mess. And that's why I'm just putting this out there exactly the way that I feel. I just feel conflicted. I went to a church thing the other day and I felt really good. Like I really enjoyed the speakers. I enjoyed the spirit of the activity. Like it gave me like a good feeling, and I can't figure out why I feel good. Like, is it just because good things are being said, or is it because it's nostalgic, or is it because that's really God's spirit and this really is the true church and I'm wrong for leaving it? I honestly don't know, and I hope that I'm not wrong. I don't know how to think that I'm not wrong. I don't know how to think that whatever. Yeah, so I'm scared. I'm scared that I'm wrong, and I'm feeling like I've pretty much in the past couple months come to this place of, if this church isn't true, then I feel like there probably isn't a true church. I feel like it seems very unlikely that any person or entity would have all of the answers, all of the correct answers. It seems statistically unlikely that anyone on this earth actually has all of the 100% true answers. So I'm confused. I'm happily confused right now. Not happily, but I'll be happy for you guys. Oh, a couple months ago, I remember after Lucas was born, that further kind of changed my view with God again, because when he was born, I I remember having all these discussions with Jared about religion. It was the only thing we would talk about because I was so confused and upset and concerned. And Jared basically said something to the effect of, "What do you want Lucas to be when he grows up?" And I said, "A concert pianist," because that would be awesome. And then I said, "Just kidding. I want him to be whatever makes him happy." And Jared said, he looked at me and he said, "Why would God want anything else for you?" And that kind of blew my mind, and it still blows my mind, because I feel like if God is really up there and he really does love us the way that our kind of Christian view of God is, like as a fatherly figure who, has unconditional love and mercy for us, then I feel like he would just want me to be happy and not to feel like I have to obligate myself to a religion that I don't fully agree with. But on the other hand, what if he does want me to participate in this church because it is the quote true church, and I'm just screwing my life up? And that scares me a lot, because there's a lot of kind of conditioning in my mind that makes me think I'm really wrong in not fully participating in this religion. So it's been a difficult journey, and it's still very difficult. I still feel like I'm struggling to, fight the depression of not knowing what's going to happen after I die. And I would like to believe good things happen. I really, truly believe that something's going to happen. I mean, I could be wrong, but I feel like I really have felt God's love in my life. I feel like I really am trying to be a good person in the best way that I know how. And I also feel like God has led me to this point. And if all of those things are true, then I feel like there's good things ahead for me. But I'm still kind of pained by the fear of, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen, and I don't know if I will ever know what's going to happen. So it's a scary place to be in. Moving forward, I hope to explore spirituality more, because spirituality has always been a big part of my life, and I hope that it always will be. And to find more truth, to find more answers, or maybe just to ask better questions. I don't know. That's just kind of where I'm at, and it's really hard, because I feel like most of my community in my life, like my personal community, being my neighbors, but also like my friends, but also my family, most of them are all LDS active members. So it's hard to feel like I can talk with them without feeling like they're thinking something's wrong with me. And it's just difficult, because I want to fit in with these people. I want to feel accepted. I want to feel loved and accepted for being me. I want to be able to be me and be okay being me. But it is difficult. And I'm hoping that as I get more confident in who I am, and maybe even who I am in God's eyes, then maybe I will find that I will care less about what other people think. And that's the hope. Because when it comes down to it, what other people think really shouldn't matter. The only thing that really should matter is what God thinks of me and what I think of me. And I think that I'm a pretty good person who's really confused and really hurt and is really trying. And I feel like God won't let me down, I guess. Hopefully, if I believe that. So if you want to hear more about my story, please like and subscribe. If you want to give me any advice if you've been through this, or if you have any questions, please drop some comments below. I hopefully this new year planning on posting some videos regularly about different spiritual topics, and hope I can provide some quality for you all. And happy Wednesday or whatever day it is when I post this, and I'll see you guys again soon.